Hey guys, it's Peachy here with another aesthetic white gaming PC build. This time with the Lian o11d Mini V2, which just launched. Let's get into it. Here is the Lian o11d Mini V2. Now I've built in the V1 a ton of times, and the most annoying thing in my opinion was that you could not fit a full-sized ATX power supply in it. So you were stuck with buying a small form factor power supply, which would be like so much more expensive than it needed to be. But now in the V2, this vented part juts out by literally like a couple millimeters maybe, but apparently that allowed them to fit a full-size ATX power supply here. And they have not really changed the footprint of it. I think according to Lian, it's like 2 liters bigger than the original o11d Mini, and it has way better airflow. It's just way easier to build in. You can use the ATX power supply. The bottom fans are actually tilted. This seems like kind of a trend now, but it's supposed to help with airflow. And then it also does come with a sag bracket for your GPU just built into the case, which is something they have in the Vision Compact behind me as well. And this is a little bit smaller than the Vision Compact, so I honestly hate having a giant PC tower on my desk, so that's why I was always partial to the o11d Mini. They included a vertical mount bracket, so you still do need to buy a riser cable, which I'm waiting for mine to come in the mail tomorrow, so you don't have to buy a third-party bracket. I think those are the main changes. It actually now, oh my gosh. In the original o11d Mini, you had to actually install a bracket onto the motherboard tray in order to install a full-size ATX motherboard. So you no longer have to do that. Everything is just where it needs to be. This version of the case actually does support back connect motherboards too. So that's nice. Let me open the back so you guys can see what the back looks like. I do wish they made this just magnetic, so you do still have to unscrew this little bar, but all the cables are white, so that's nice. Oh, to remove the front panel, oh. Okay, it's like the first iteration. Another super cool feature with this case is you can actually move the front I/O from the bottom of the case to the top if you decide to place your PC on the floor, which just makes things a lot easier. So I'll show you how to do this. I didn't do it until my PC was assembled, but you should definitely do this before you start putting stuff in the case, and especially before you do cable management. So there's gonna be 2 screws on the front and then 2 screws on the back side of the case. We're gonna go ahead and unscrew that. The cables are actually still Velcro strapped into the case, so we're gonna have to open all of those. But once those are free, you can pull the entire thing out. Now on the top, there are these 2 screws that you'll have to unscrew to take the placeholder slot out. And then you can actually go ahead and move this into the bottom space to cover the hole. You'll want those holes facing up so you can screw it in. There's gonna be 1 screw in the front and then 1 screw in the back. To install it in the new placement, all you have to do is insert it with the screw holes facing you, then pop it in and screw it. If you want to change the orientation of the cables coming out of it, they actually do have a separate cutout, so you can unscrew the housing and reorient the cables. But for my build, I'm going to leave it in the bottom. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it. Oh, it also does have 2 removable hard drive bays here. They do have, in the box of accessories, it comes with a different bracket for if you're vertically mounting your GPU, so you would remove this. You do have to have fans installed here to install that though. Let's just get into it. All right, the motherboard for today's build is going to be this NZXT X870E in white. I have always loved how clean NZXT motherboards look, and I'm super excited to get to try this one out. It comes with Wi-Fi antennas and some like RGB extensions, I think, and then some SATA cables. Whoa, it's so clean. Here's what the back looks like. Another peelie right here. Heatsink for the SSD. How does this cover come off though? Does this cover even come off? Like there has to be other SSD slots, right? Do I actually have to read the manual? Okay, so you're supposed to just be able to like pull this off. But I'm scared. I also don't want to like break a nail, but the manual says to just pull it off. This whole board is flexing. Oh, okay. All right, we did it. That wasn't so bad. Basically, there are 3 M.2 slots, and these do have a clip, so you don't actually have to unscrew and rescrew the thingy. All right, that's nice. Now that that is completely opened up, let's carry on with the build. So first things first, we have the Ryzen 9 9900X CPU. Now that we can carry on, I just took this off, and now it's time for the SSD. I actually have a 4 terabyte SSD for this build. This is the Lexar NQ780. Don't forget to peel this off. Okay, there's no need for a screw, which is really nice. And then if you did want to install any other ones, oh wow, that's why it was so hard. It wasn't like a magnet or anything. It was like a literal ball and catch socket. If you wanted to install any other drives, you would just throw them in here. 4 total, but you're gonna want your fastest one here. Okay, and then for this one, we're gonna wanna peel it. Is my joint popping? Am I old? All right, cool. That's all installed. Time for RAM. And I have the Patriot Viper 32 gigabyte set of white RGB RAM. This is gonna go in the 2nd and 4th slots. Cool. All right, guys, full disclosure, NZXT actually sent me this motherboard for review, and I do love how it looks, but the feature set is not worth the price tag. It was $500 at launch. I think it's now $400 for the white one, and it is basically an ASRock X870 Phantom Nova clone, which is like a $300 board. There's just a lot of features missing on this that I would have liked to see from a board that is probably more expensive than like any other alternative. At least the ASRock board has a screwless M.2 SSD installation for the main SSD slot. This one, you still need to unscrew it, and the ball and catch mechanism on the rest of it is like definitely leaves a lot to be desired for a premium luxury motherboard. Also, I picked this one just because it looks good and matches the rest of the build, but if you're not using NZXT fans, like a lot of the connections on the motherboard are pretty much useless, so it makes the most sense if you're using NZXT hardware. All right, before we move on to the next step, we do have to open up this cooler box and put on the cooler bracket. Today we have the Lian hydroshift 2 LCD C360M. That is a mouthful. This one, actually, you can choose to buy it without any fans, which is really nice because sometimes you buy an AIO and you don't even end up using the stock fans. Okay, so we're gonna have to remove the stock retention bracket and install this one. And I will hold on to it just in case you have to RMA anything or you end up getting a different cooler. So just go ahead and remove this. All right, so we are going to install the new one, and there are arrows that will show you where the CPU is supposed to go, okay? So it's gonna point to the CPU. So it's gonna go like this and like this. So you just wanna make sure that these arrows point directly to the CPU. They should be pointing in. And it came with these screws, so we're gonna wanna use those. They've given us an extra screw, I think, just in case we lose one. And now it's time to throw everything into the case. All right, the one thing that does bug me about the screws, they do give you a really nice case for it, but they're all just jumbled up in one single bag, I think. So for your motherboard, you're gonna want these ones that kind of look like there's like a little ring on it. All right, let's screw it in. If you're still screwing manually in 2025, what are you doing? I made a screwdriver ad that was like that. All right, so this is my trusty dusty Fantic NEX S1 Pro. This one is actually fire for building PCs and furniture. It has a ton of different bits and 3 torque settings. It's also magnetic. But yeah, so you can easily do that. I think I need a bigger bit for this. Not an ad, but these do make PC builds go by so much faster. So if you do want to check it out, I'll link it down below. Okay, I think that was it. It is now installed. All right, let's set this to the side and do the fans. Here's the Lian Unifan SL Infinity Wireless 120. And these are the new ones. There's like an extra RGB thing on it. So you can actually remove these if you don't need to connect them with another fan, and it's on the end. And then you can take this, which they now include in the box, and this goes right here to cover the pins, like that. So you can remove these. You just turn it and pull it off. And then if you want to put it back in, you just put it in like this and turn it. One side with nubs and one side without nubs. And again, awesome. Okay, so this is gonna be the one for the AIO. set this aside. And then now we need to do the one for the bottom and then the one for the side. Actually, let's do the one for the side first. It's done. It's gonna look like this. So we'll probably want the thingy to go on the bottom. So you match up this with the same black and gold. Okay, mine happens to be going the right way, but if yours isn't, you can actually pull this off, and then here, I'll just show you guys how to do it anyways. You would like pull this out basically. Oh, there it is. And then you can clip it here and then stick it under there so it lays flat. And then you can go ahead and shove this cover back on. So now it's going the other way. And that's just like, because you would want it to go into the case like this and not be visible on the other side. But the way it was good for my build. So put the cover on this side and put the cable on this side. Okay, and we're all done with the fans. We've got 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm gonna install these side fans first because I feel like it'll just be the easiest. And since these are going in like this is going to be impossible to take off after. So I'm going to go ahead and peel it off now. All right. I'm also going to open up this cable tie so we can route the cable through the back. And this will just get mounted right here. I'm going to use just the screws that came with the fans in the box. Oh, I forgot to take off the screw covers. So we are gonna have to pop all of these off. Okay, now we're ready. Let's put this right here. I don't tighten it all the way because then, oh, oops, I actually tightened it too much this time. What I normally do, yeah, I just tighten it a little bit so that way you can still move the fan around. So I usually do the top right or left and then do the opposite side so that you can be sure it's like aligned. You know what I mean? It's like not working. But I think I want... Okay, so when this is in, there's like a little bit of space towards the bottom or the top. Try to like even it out. That should be good. Okay, now we can put the rest of the screws in. Chest says it looks expensive, and it probably is. Oh, the motherboard is like $450 though.
Was it like flying?
All right, for these bottom fans, we can take out this whole bracket and install it onto the bracket. But this just comes out. So you're gonna flip, yeah, this one because we want it to be intaking. Sorry, it's so loud. Peel this. Oh, and we have to get these things off. Just shake all of that onto the floor. All right, so this now can go like this, and then we'll just go ahead and flip it. Screw all of this stuff in. Okay, now that that's installed, we can go ahead and, oh, I actually need to open up this. Oh, that's actually crazy. You like, just have to do it like over here and then pull it through. All right, we did it. Perfect. Now, don't forget to re-screw those screws in, these two little ones. There it is. Perfect.
Before we move on to installing the AIO, we're actually going to want to unpack the power supply and plug those cables in first because it's going to be impossible with that giant AIO installed in the top.
This is the Lian Edge 1000 watt power supply. This is one of those like side plug power supplies, which is specifically made for dual chamber cases where the power supply isn't on the bottom of the case. So what I think is really cool about this power supply is you can actually remove the dust filter, which I haven't seen before on another power supply. There it is. And yeah, so the plugs are all right here, which is super interesting. And you can attach this like USB hub thing to it. So not that I have that many USB devices for this build specifically, but like say we wanted to add a screen or something. Oh, make sure you remove this like plastic cover off of it. And then you can just go ahead and it's magnetic too. Just slide that in and there it is. Okay, now we can set this aside because we don't really need it. What we do need are the cables. So I basically just want like the CPU cables, and then we are gonna do some cable management, I think. We can put everything else back. So I need 2 of these CPU cables, 2 of these PCIe cables. I might need SATA, I'm not actually sure. And now the only other one I need is that giant 24 pin. And the rest can be set aside. Now for this giant 24 pin, they do give us some cable combs to put on it. And these cable combs are low-key hella hard to put on. So they already have one of these on there. And I think we should kind of like slide it up. It's like coming apart now. Okay, so basically we're going to we're just gonna follow whatever is going on. Okay, so some of these have 3 cables. It's like hard to tell which ones too, but we're basically just following whatever they did for the one that they have on there. I think that's why they leave one on there as like a guide. All right, I'm gonna plug in these power supply cables into the motherboard right now while I still can. I think that's fully plugged in. It's mostly just the CPU power at the top. We are going to put this into the back. Just through that top hole. And then we'll do the same for this one. There's like a metal bar there. That's perfect. Oh wow, that looks so interesting. Okay, I think did something get tangled? Or no, I think it's just too loose. Sometimes you need to like kind of reorganize them a bit. Because like if some of them are looser than others, it just doesn't look as good. Let's look a bit better. All right, let's get this AIO ready now. I was kind of procrastinating taking this thing out because there's just so many things. Wow. All right, well, this is very well packed. Accessories and a manual. I honestly don't know how I feel about this because I kind of do like the way AIO tubes like look in a build, but this has this like bracket thing that holds the tubes next to the rad. So it kind of just like, you don't really see the tubes hanging down at all. They're pretty much just hidden. And this part's hidden too. So that's kind of cool, I guess. Let's see what we need to do for the AMD socket. Apply thermal paste and smooth it out evenly. Install the radiator, and then there's like install the block, the bracket using nuts, and there's a decorative trim to put over the nuts. Will you put some decorative trim over my nuts? Oh, I see. Nice, they even give you a spatula to smooth out the thermal paste. I will have to hold on to that. So let's first install these fans onto here. Okay, because we have to use the AIO screws, we also have to take off the cover from the side too. All right, let's just dump that out, make sure none of them are still there. And then we're gonna peel these peelies off. All right, now ready to toss this into the case? All right, that's fine. Okay, now we can finally install this AIO. Have to put all of these cables through. Just pull this right back out and just plug these into the headers at the top, right here, if you can see that. 1, 2, right there. Let's see if this will fit. Will it fit like this? Oh, it does fit, okay. Okay, so I'm apparently supposed to install this like clip thing right here. And just press it, I guess. First we need to wipe it with rubbing alcohol, the CPU, just to make sure it's clean. And then we're gonna go ahead and the Lian cooler came with this thermal paste and a spatula. So I'm actually gonna try spreading it. And then try spreading that. Ew, it's like low-key not very easy to spread. It's like sticking to itself. See how it's like, it's just not spreading nicely. All right, I'm just gonna make an X. All right, so I muscled this in there, but it feels super sus. You basically have to align this like thingy with this thing on both sides and then just slide it to the left, like this part. So I got that. I just feel like the tension here is super sus, but I don't know. And then this thingy is the nut cover. All right, the nut cover is in place. Okay, before we move on, we need to screw in the radiator to the case. cannot forget to do that. So the screws are here. I'm gonna come over to the other side and do it. And these are just the screws that came with the cooler. Again, doing it loosely so I can still kind of like reposition if I need to. Once we get like 6 screws in, it's probably safe to reposition and move on with the build. Okay, now I'm plugging in front panel connectors. This little silver one goes right here. So this one goes right here under the 24-pin motherboard power. There it is. I also have this cable, which is sadly blocked by the GPU sag bracket. Nope, it's not gonna work there. Well, I think because we are gonna be, so I'm gonna be vertically mounting the GPU ultimately. But if you were to mount it traditionally after you installed the GPU, you would just move this around. Yeah, I'd have to remove this in order to plug this in right here, which kind of sucks. Or you can get a 90-degree adapter. The front panel connector right here. Okay, so for all the Lian fans, there's going to be 4 sets of cables. So the single fan, the triple fan for the AIO, the triple fan for the bottom, and the double fan on the side. So each one of these is going to have 2 fan headers. For the single fan, the one in the back, make sure you have the right one. Anyways, each of these fan cables from those Lian fans, one of them needs to plug into these fan headers at the bottom, and then the other daisy chain cable will plug into something else in the back. Okay, it's actually just way easier with the fans taken out, so I just took them out again. Okay, so yeah, let's route some cable. Right there. Okay, I think that's everything. I can also plug in the HD audio cable. The HD audio cable plugs in right here, and that's just to use the front panel audio jack. Okay, and now for all of those other fan headers, because each fan had 2 cables, we're gonna plug that into this SATA cable that came with the fan triple pack. So the triple pack of fans comes with this cable, and when you have more than 2 fans, 2 or more fans connected, or daisy chained apparently, you need to power them. So we got this SATA cable for that, and we're gonna connect that using just the SATA cable for the power supply. So literally just this one. And then we'll grab the PCIe cables for the power supply too. And we're gonna route these. So this split side will go through here. And same for this one. Actually, with this power supply, there are cables that split off and cables that don't. So we're gonna use the one that doesn't split off, and we're not gonna use this cable anymore. Okay, let's install this power supply. We've done some cable management, like a teeny tiny bit. Oh wow, this feels so awkward. I feel like the holes barely align. Whoa, this hole is, how are you supposed to screw this in? Oh, I think you're maybe supposed to take the bracket out and make sure it goes fan side out. Now it's time to plug in all of these cables. All right, well these CPU cables can just go giant SATA cable right here. These 2 PCIe cables right here, 24 pins. All right, so the great thing about this Lian power supply is it has this right here. So you can actually plug in all the USBs and fan headers into this instead of into your motherboard if you don't have that many ports like me. This comes in the box, so you connect one side of this into the black ports on this header, and then you plug the other side into the motherboard, and then you can just plug in all your USBs and fan stuff here, and then just clip it right back onto the power supply when you're done. Okay, here's how I have the cables managed. You can't really see it too well, but I have the 2 CPU power cables here. 2 fan headers for the AIO are plugged in here. Both of these fan cables come from the AIO itself, not the fans. And then this one, the one that only has 2 cables, that's just for auxiliary power in case it needs additional power. So if you are limited in fan headers, you don't have to plug this in, but I have plenty because of the Lian PSU. Nothing else on top. And then here we just have the 24 pin front panel USB header right here. It's plugged in. And then I was able to get that other USB connector in here, but it's super snug with this. So if you're building with this configuration, you should get a 90-degree adapter. You can get a 90-degree adapter so it's like super clean and you don't see this like cable jutting out. My motherboard does have another slot here in the bottom, but it's just impossible. And then front panel power is plugged in. This is the fan header for the power supply. These are the other extra fan headers from the Lian fans, and then this is the fan header from the power supply. This is the USB cable for the cooler, and then front panel audio. Now I'm gonna plug in some of the fan cables into here. And then, so you can take this wireless fan control thingy for all of the fans and plug it into the back of the motherboard, but it kind of sticks out, like kind of ugly. So I don't want to do that. And in the box, it comes with this little cable right here that you can plug into the back of this. Also, I've gotten super lazy in untying these, so now I just unclip them, but just be careful, don't break it. So anyways, so this plugs into here. You're gonna wanna make sure it goes in the right way because you can't plug it in just like any way you want. So this goes like this. You have to like press it all the way in. And now we can connect, there's one USB and one fan header. So the fan header will just plug into the power supply and then the USB header as well. That is so convenient. And now we can just toss this into the back. And this thingy just goes back right here and slide it up. Now we just have to cable manage this a bit. USB hub does require an extra power cable to run it though. So it uses a PCIe PSU connector, which then just plugs into the power supply. Like that. And install this back. All right, so I mean, okay, I barely tried cable managing this, but this case is almost the same situation with the original o11 where it's like, there's not a ton of room, especially with the hard drive cage. So if you have cable extensions, it's gonna be a huge pain. All right, since we're already here, I'll show you how to install a hard drive. I've got a 24 terabyte from Western Digital. Huge shout out to Western Digital for sending this out. This is literally a data center drive and I just filled up my 4 terabyte SSD, so I need to move some files over. So here it is. This Lian case has 2 hard drive bays right here. And so I've already unscrewed the screws from one of them, but if you haven't done it already, the screws are just like right here and then you just unscrew it. And now you can kind of just pull these up and take this whole thing out. This is what it looks like when it's out. And then in order to get this part out, you kind of like pull it. Okay, why is it not? Oh, there it is. Okay, and now it's open. Dingles, which we'll need. Okay, I lied. We actually just need 4 of these screws from the Lian box of screws. And then we will put this here with the cables facing out. So align these 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Okay, put it in here like this. Make sure it's closed, and then we're gonna screw 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So on the motherboard side, this is gonna plug in right here. We're gonna use the right angled side of it, and then push this part. We're gonna pull it through the back, and then connect this. Just like that. And then now on the drive side, we are going to plug this one into here. It should click. And then same for this. All right, so that is all connected now. And we can now put this back in. Oops. So on the back, we're just going to push everything down. See that? Okay, and then we take our 2 of these things and screw them right into here. It's like kind of hard to line up the holes though. Now we just need to cable manage this again. The great thing about this case is you can just screw this on and call it a day. The last thing I'm going to do is show how to install a GPU normally. So non-vertical mount Okay, so we're gonna unscrew 1, 2. And for the GPU today, I have this Power Color Hellhound. This gorgeous one. Take this off. I actually never peeled the plastic off of this. Anyways, here's a closer look at that Power Color Sakura card. And it's really pretty. There is an LED switch here. This actually lights up on the back, so we won't be able to see that. Take these brackets out. Oh, okay, just had to complain a little. All right, and then for this anti-sag bracket, you're gonna just pick this up and tighten it right there. Awesome. Anyways, we are going to now try to mount this GPU vertically. So we will need this from the accessories kit and also this, which is like a sag bracket. And then we will also need a PCIe. I got a PCIe 5.0 riser cable. And I got a white one. It's quite expensive. Alright, well anyways, let's uninstall this. Remove the previous sag bracket by just unscrewing it right here. And the new one goes right here, I believe. So we'll have to take these screw covers out. Let's take the screw covers out, and then this goes like this, I want to say. Actually, we're gonna use these fan screws from the case and screw that in. Okay. Okay, also this mechanism is super interesting. The, what do you even call this? Anti-sag bracket. It raises when you turn it. That's kind of cool. Never seen that before. Okay, let's try and install the GPU now. Okay, now we're going to have to take this original bracket out and then we'll put in the new one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can just take this bracket out, hold on to it in case you change your mind. Okay, now we get this thing, this riser cable. I got a 150mm one. I'm hoping it's long enough. There is a cover on this, so be sure you take that cover out and then take this clip off. Make sure this slot is open, and we're just gonna go ahead and slot this in, just like you'd slot in a normal GPU. And this is the perfect length. Okay, now,
if you were wondering what this case looks like with a giant 50 series card installed, this MSI Vanguard RTX 5080 I have here is 357 millimeters long, 151 millimeters tall, and 66 millimeters thick. It's a dual slot card that definitely fits mounted normally, but let's try to vertically mount it. According to the case manual, no matter how skinny your GPU is, when installing your card in the vertical mount bracket, you have to leave the furthest slot empty. So the slot closest to the motherboard has to be empty. If you install your GPU all the way in the back, it'll be blocked by the angle of the fans since the fans are taller in the back. I also had to scoot my bottom fans all the way to the right as well. I'm not sure if it was my riser cable, but when I installed my double slot cards in the second and third slot, so with one between the GPU and the glass, I still had issues with the riser cable hitting the bottom fans and not allowing me to screw in the bracket all the way, so I did end up mounting both GPUs that I tested in the closest slots to the glass, which isn't that great for airflow. Now this MSI Vanguard barely fits mounted vertically. It is so giant.
It does fit. Oh wow, just barely. Holy. It's actually touching the pump. If you look here, it's literally touching the pump. Like anything more and it would just not fit. And so there's not too much space between that GPU and the front glass to breathe. Okay, so here's what that would look like if we were to install this RTX 5080 in there. This is a huge card. It pretty much takes up the entire case. I do feel like this just looks super claustrophobic, so if I did have a card this big, I would probably just mount it normally, and it would be way better for airflow as well. Okay, so to sum this up, if you have a card as big as this, actually, I think just if you're mounting a GPU vertically in general, you're gonna have to scoot these bottom fans all the way to the right, but it's pretty easy to do after the fact. And then if you do have a card this thick, and a AIO pump this thick, you're gonna have to mount the card in one of the closer slots to the glass. You can't mount it all the way in the back. But if you have a shorter card, this won't be a problem. It's just because this card is so freaking tall because it's a 5080.
Now to install the actual GPU for this build vertically, we're gonna screw it into the vertical mount bracket, plug in the PCIe riser, and then slot everything to the case and screw the bracket in. I still had to mount this in the slot closest to the glass, but it might just be the particular riser cable I got.
And now we can screw this in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 screws that we had before. And those look like this. It barely fits because this thing is now touching the fan. I mean, it's not preventing it from spinning or anything, but that is what is making it hard to install. Okay, I'm gonna screw these fans back in and then just like hope it works. Oof, yeah, it's not aligned super well. I don't think this is gonna work. Okay, yeah, I think I do actually have to move it one more up. So I guess no matter what, you have to mount it that close. Okay, I lied. I ended up putting the dust covers in since I had to take it out again anyways, but okay, that should fit better now. Yeah, this should be perfect. Keyword here is should be. All right, I think that's just as good as it's gonna get. Oh, and then my like IO thingy fell out, and if yours falls out too, you just squeeze these like tabs. It goes with the concave part like this. You just squeeze these tabs and put them right here without breaking my nail, preferably. I think that's as far in as it goes. No? Yeah, I actually think that is just how far in it goes. All right, and then to fix the anti-sag bracket, you literally just, I think that's good. I don't know, you guys tell me if it's straight or not. Now we just have to plug it in. Okay, plugging this in should be pretty simple. All right, and we're done, yippee! All right, it's time to peel. Finally done with this build. Let's put this thing back together. And finally, let's see if it'll turn on. I'm scared. Ooh. So the cool thing about this is you can change the colors. That was beautiful. So pretty. Here's what the PC looks like with the GPU mounted regularly, and here's what the PC looks like with the vertical mount GPU. I will drop all of the components used in this video down below. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using this motherboard for this build. 1, due to the high price point, and 2, you can't really use a lot of the connectors on the motherboard because they're NZXT proprietary fan headers. I will say a lot of the parts in the build that we did today are priced at a premium because of the aesthetics, like the fans, AIO, and even the power supply is kind of a luxury. But the new Lian o11d Mini V2 is an amazing case for the price point. It retails for only $90 without any fans, and you can get it with 5 fans installed for $100, which I think is great value, and you can definitely build some super affordable but powerful builds in this. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and follow for more aesthetic tech videos.